Hey guys, Omni here with mixed reception to say the least of Wonder Woman 1984. I thought it'd be fun to revisit something we haven't watched in quite some time, and that is one of Ryan George's pitch meetings over at Screen Rant. This is 8 minutes long, and I think with all the critique that we've heard regarding this film, there's probably plenty of material he's got to work with for one of these. If you haven't checked out these shorts, they are fantastic. They are hilarious. I do definitely recommend them. So if you aren't subscribed, I would definitely subscribe to them, at least for these alone. So let's go ahead and pull up our Wonder Woman 1984 pitch meeting. Here we go.
So, you have a Wonder Woman sequel for me? Yes, sir, I do. So we're gonna start the movie with Diana as a kid back in Themyscira. Okay, and what's she up to? Well, she's competing in the Amazon version of that TV show Wipeout, and she tries to use a shortcut to win and learns that cheating is wrong. Sure, okay, that's a nice quick message to start the movie off. It's gonna take a full 11 minutes. Oh my god. So then we're gonna jump forward to the 1980s, which is when this movie takes place. Okay, so like 30, 40 years ago? Oh, I don't enjoy that that's a true thing. So anyway, Diana is still super heartbroken about Steve Trevor dying in the first movie. He's all she can think about. Really? After all that time? Yeah, well, I mean, you gotta understand, this was a really good guy she knew for a couple of days 7 decades ago. Well, yeah, I guess so. So anyway, Diana's working in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian, and she has a new co-worker named Barbara. And what's her deal? Oh, well, she's a freaking nerd, sir. She can't even walk in heels. Oh, embarrassing, disgusting, and pathetic. Everybody likes her. Yeah, and so there's this artifact called the Dream Stone, and that's what this movie's gonna focus on. Oh, what's this thing do? Oh, this thing's freaking nuts. It grants wishes, but it takes something in return. A very magical stone. Yeah, and this phony business guy, Max Lord, he gets his hand on it, and he wishes to become the Dream Stone. Oh, so he turns to stone? You would think so, the way that was phrased, but no, now he can grant people's wishes when they touch him, and he can take something in return. Do Barbara and Diana get wishes in before he does that? They do. Barbara wishes to be more like Diana, so she gets some nice clothes and some super strength, and now she can walk in heels. Now that's impressive, am I right? Yeah, she's not pathetic anymore. Also, she removes her glasses, which, as you know, makes people automatically more attractive. That's just good character development is what that is. And so Diana's gonna wish for Steve Trevor to come back to life, and this way we can get Chris Pine back in the movie. Oh, people like Chris Pine, so what does he just
great, here we go.
Thin air? Actually, no, his consciousness goes into this random guy's body, so everybody sees this random guy, but we see Chris Pine. So, okay, is this because the stone can't make things just magically show up? No, it absolutely can. A giant wall's gonna appear out of nowhere, so are some nukes. I mean, the thing is magic. So why are we doing this weird body control thing with Steve? I don't know. What happens to this guy's consciousness while Steve's controlling his body? Who's to say? You are. Yeah. What if this guy has a job and a family he has to get to? The implications are insane. Where is his consciousness? Is he dead? Oh, well, here's the thing, sir. I'm gonna need you to get all the way off my back about this body control thing. Get off of it. Oh, that felt vaguely threatening, so I'm gonna get off your back about that. Great. And so then Steve and Diana, obviously, they get intimate because, you know, they love each other. They do that using a stranger's body. That's gotta be crossing a line. That's not okay. Yeah, well, we're gonna have them do it anyway, and I find it strange that you immediately got back on my back about that. I mean, it's actually a really easy fix. Just have Steve Trevor show up as himself. No. So then that Max Lord guy makes himself super rich, and he goes to Egypt to take some guy's oil and make himself even richer.
It's really
so
that
Steve
easy.
And Diana, they gotta get over there, you know? How are they gonna do that? Well, the thing is, they can't just take a commercial flight, because Steve doesn't have a passport. Well, I mean, the guy he's possessing probably has one. Yeah, well, they don't check for that. They head to the Smithsonian and steal one of the jets from over there. They have operational jets at the museum? They do, yeah. Fully fueled jets just lying around, so they take one of those, because Steve was a pilot. Okay, he was a pilot in World War I. Those are different planes. Well, I mean, a plane is a plane. Okay, yeah, that sentence is not technically wrong. So there you go. But sir, a plane is a plane. Are you implying that a plane's not a plane? Because a plane is a plane. I mean, that's just such a vague general statement. A plane is a plane. Okay. So then they're being chased because of the jet theft, and so Wonder Woman goes ahead and makes it invisible, and that's how she gets her invisible jet. What? How? Well, it turns out that's a thing she can do, so she does the thing that she can do. Wow, well, thank God she has that ability we never once mentioned or referenced. Yeah, it works out great, so they go to Egypt, and they have a big chase scene with Max Lord. Oh, very exciting. But he friggin' gets away, and he goes around causing a bunch more chaos. Then he goes to see the President of the United States. What for? Well, he gets the President to wish for more nukes, and then he sees this technology just lying around in the Oval Office, and it's exactly what he needs. What do you mean? Well, it's this device that lets him take over everybody's screen around the world, so technically through, like, satellite waves, he's touching them. How? Oh, don't worry about it. Oh, okay, I won't. So then then there's gonna be this fight in the White House, and Barbara, she's turning evil, so she gets in on that too. Okay. And Steve manages to grab Max Lord. Oh, and so he wishes for everything to go back to normal? Oh, yeah, no, that would have been smart. Instead, he pushes him around a bit. Also a decent strategy. Yeah, so then Max Lord escapes, and he heads off to the satellite island to do his broadcast. Wow. And Steve and Diana find out that everybody needs to renounce their wishes, or else civilization's gonna end. So they have this big emotional goodbye. Oh, very sad. Very sad. But then she starts to fly and lasso some lightning bolts, so that's pretty cool. That's not bad.
She also
that
lassoed that
so then
cloud.
Diana's gonna have to fight Barbara, who, by the way, is a cat now.
Magic.
Yeah, she's a cat now. She's part cheetah. What are you talking about? Well, see, Max Lord was like, hey, anything else you want? And she's like, yes, actually, I would like to be an apex predator, please. Oh, so she could have just as easily been turned into a killer whale. Yeah, I guess there was a chance she could have turned into a, orca whale, but that would have made for a less interesting fight scene. Oh,
I want to touch back on that here in a second,
so
too.
We're gonna have a barely visible fight scene, and Barbara's gonna get electrocuted. Oh, so she dies? Well, no, she gets a little sleepy, which is what happens when cats get electrocuted. That's not, no, I don't think that's accurate. Well, that's what my dad told me when my childhood cat chewed through his extension cord. Your cat died, I think. No, sir, he went to sleep, then he went to live on a farm, and I never saw him again. I mean, okay, so what happens next? Well, Max is granting wishes to everybody in the world through their screens. Most of the world doesn't speak English.
Oh shit, I'm seeing stars.
Keep that in mind for trivia night, I guess. That's interesting. Anyway, it's going to be complete chaos. Oh, it is? Yep, people are killing each other with wishes. One guy gets a farm outside his apartment. People can wish for anything. Really? Yeah, it's going to be nuts. Statistically speaking, wouldn't at least one person wish for the guy that just showed up on their TV to die or for the world to end? Wouldn't at least one person wish for world peace? What happens with that paradox? Well, I mean, that's like a 1 in a million kind of wish, right? There are billions of people in the world. Oh, you're just full of fun trivia tonight. So anyway, Diana has to lasso this guy, but her lasso can't get through this mysterious wind around him. Oh, wow, it's going to be tough for her to defeat him if she can't reach him. Actually, it's going to be super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Oh, really? Yeah, see, she gets her lasso around his ankle, and then she can talk to everybody through him. I thought she couldn't get through with that thing. Oh, yeah, no, she couldn't, but then she could. But how? Unclear. Well, okay, then. So then she tells everybody to renounce their wishes, because nothing good comes from lying. And everybody does it. Everybody does it, including Max Lord, who suddenly cares about his son that he's been actively ignoring the whole movie. And so what about, what if someone with a terminal illness wished to be cured? Oh, well, they would have to renounce that, because that's not the truth. What if a blind person wished to be able to see? That's a shortcut to being able to see, so that's wrong. What if somebody wished to be able to feed their starving child? Yeah, okay, this moment only works if everybody wishes for something selfish or violent, so we're gonna have to pretend like that's the case, okay? Oh, pretending is tight. Okay, let's do it. Okay, thank God. So then Max Lord is gonna go reunite with his son, who just kind of comes running out of the woods for no reason. How did Max Lord get back from the island if he renounced all his wishes? Unclear. And what happens with Barbara? Oh, well, she's not a cat anymore.
I still teared up at that moment, but when you think about it,
okay. Anyway, then
it is
Diana's
ridiculous.
gonna have a little flirty moment with the guy who Steve was controlling. It's gonna be very sweet. He's already seen that guy naked. Yeah, just a real sweet moment. It's gonna be Christmas too. Yeah, I don't know if it being Christmas makes it better. And then she looks at a balloon and we're all done. So what do you think? I mean, I feel like using a strange man's body is just so deeply strange and raises so many messed up questions. Right. Well, maybe nobody will think of how weird it is. Well, yeah, I guess that is a possibility. Okay, let's do it.
Ignore some big problems with Steve Trevor's return. I was about to say Steve and Trevor. Oh, God. Okay. So 2 things I wanted to talk about that he brought up that I kind of had been thinking about too was that, well, for one, here recently, Patty Jenkins, as well as some people who had defended her whole, why she did the body swap thing with Steve Trevor rather than just have him brought back out of thin air, which would have been less weird, is to reference the whole body swap trope trend that was going on during the 80s, like with Big, and how in that it was a child in an adult's body, and in that movie he slept with an adult woman even though he was mentally a 12-year-old kid, and people back then thought that was okay. And I was like, well, sensibilities at the time, we didn't think about movies that complexly, for one, and it's the thing, even if you're doing this trope representation or flip or homage, I don't know what we'd call this at this point, from a more sophisticated modern lens, of course general audiences are going to be a little estranged to that. I mean, that was a common thing in the early 90s and the mid to late 80s, where it was cool for the kid to hook up with whatever, That was a thing that happened, like, especially in children's movies. It happened all the time. Uh, Blank Check is one that comes to mind initially. That was kind of weird, just kind of thinking back on how that played out. But then again, as we progress, as people, more and more people see these films, as society kind of moves forward, a lot of these things, maybe for nostalgia's sake, with the rose colored glasses and all that, seems playful and fun. Now's just a little creepy if you do it having known all of the problems with that now. Again, I still had fun with this movie. It is not my favorite DC film by far. If you want to check out my ranking on all of the DCEU films, go check that out. I made a video on that just a couple days ago. As well as a review for that film itself, which has slightly shifted, but I pinned a comment on that with some amendments to some of my thoughts there. But I think the heart was in the right place with the movie, but just there was a lot of a lot of logical leaps with the script that don't make enough sense. Now, to the apex predator thing that he called out, which I'm surprised he called out. He's like, she could have easily became like a killer whale or a lion or a tiger or a bear. Oh my, I don't know. Yes, she's supposed to become cheetah, but cheetahs by no standard are an apex predator, at least by what I would consider one. I mean, one, they can barely strive and procreate enough to keep their genes going. I don't know if they're still as endangered as they used to be. They used to be on such a decline because just their genetics are so jacked up that it is so difficult for them to like carry on and actually successfully breed, even in the wild, let alone in captivity. And their entire thing hinges on catching something in an intense burst. And anything larger than a cheetah, if it tried, would take it out. Like there's no doubt. It's straight line, couple ziggy zags, and it's done in just a couple, maybe just a few minutes. I can't exactly remember. I used to do a bunch of reports on cheetahs, but that was a long time ago. I had a fascination with those animals like back in the day. But like they are, I wouldn't classify any of that as an apex predator. And it's just such a weird way for them to get cheetah when there's so many other ways that are much more interesting from the comics that they could have actually pulled from. Because now she's just this scientist now who has no powers yet again. She knows who Diana is, what Diana is, and she's just out in the world hunky dory with that, having had that taste of that power and then given it all up. It's such like an iconic character, iconic villain, especially not just with Wonder Woman, but with the Injustice League, which they were setting up at the end of Justice League, wherever they end up going with that, if ever going anywhere with that again. It leaves that character unable to be a member of that, which then it's like, well, who's Wonder Woman's representative going to be in this? There's just so many weird decisions that was made with this film just for the sake of homaging the 80s tropes that were just weird. And it just makes everybody uncomfortable now, even though you're doing it as like a tribute to the movies of old and that old thinking or whatever. The general audience isn't going to oh, that's a callback. The general audience is going to be like, either not think about it or not catch up on it or pick up on it at all, or they're going to be like, oh, I don't know, that's a little weird. I think we've honestly evolved to a point where the general audience is seeing movies, at least most people, are a lot smarter than they were back then. As far as what we're exposed to in media and film and all that, we're a lot more aware of everything that's going on, thanks to the internet, thanks to social media and everything like that, that I don't know that doing that now was the best decision, even though the movie took place in the 80s. And this movie barely did anything with the 80s itself. Aside, you could have taken that exact same plot, placed it anywhere else, and it wouldn't have mattered. Fun thing, which I noticed today, 1984 is also the year that the Karate Kid came out, and we just wrapped up Cobra Kai, so I thought that was kind of funny to like kind of come back around into this. I don't know. The movie itself also just feels so disjointed when paired up with the rest of the DCEU and what we know of her story so far, especially with her gaining this ability to fly randomly, having the invisible jet. It's like a bunch of things that was like feel like those would have been useful, would have came up at some point in BVS or in Justice League had they had them at that point. So it's just another one of those things where the DCEU's current canon is all over the place, inconsistent, and they as much as I love DC, they just need to get their house in order. And it seems like just as they announced these things about their plans for HBO Max and all their films going forward, starting in 2022, you have setbacks that are being announced within these same things too, like them calling the Snyder Cut a creative cul-de-sac, a road that goes nowhere once it's out. That's it. They won't do anything with it, regardless of the fan reaction to it, the reception of it, whatever. I'm sure if it's strong enough of a positive reaction, they will go in a positive direction with it. But, and then on top of that, Ray Fisher coming out and boycotting any Warner Brothers production now due to as long as Walter Hamada, who is the current DC Films president, is in power. He's done. So along with that whole investigation thing, he's now just boycotting Warner Brothers altogether. I don't know, man. It's so shaky over there still, even though there's a lot of projects I'm really looking forward to, especially Flashpoint, because they can use that movie to just wipe away any of the retcons they want to and build a continuity off of that. Hell, this movie could be in the post Flashpoint continuity. We don't know. And then maybe then it'll tonally fit. But it just seems like, I don't know, man. They're just, again, kind of falling into this place. And I love DC. DC is my home. DC is my comfort space. I love the MCU, but I grew up with DC and I just want DC to do great things. And it's just like every time there's a great film or an enjoyable film, there's always some kind of setback or just kind of dud that lands in the water. And it's like, well, you were almost there. And then you get these ambitious announcements that are clearly knee-jerk reactions to other studios being successful, like the MCU and their deployment of Disney Plus, as well as their theatrical lineup. And they're like, hey, well, why don't we do that? Well, you rushed a cinematic universe before it was ready, and look how that paid off. And now you're like, well, let's try bum rushing this streaming game before we have any real like strong content laid out or reception from any of our content laid out that are part of this plan. Again, they're just committing to ideas before they have any inkling of how it's going to work and be received. It's just another tirade that I'm going on to. I turned Ryan George's video into an 18-minute commentary here. So thank you guys. I'm going to leave it at that. We can have more of a conversation down in the comments below. So we can carry on this conversation and others. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, especially everybody's support with Cobra Kai, The Mandalorian, and all of that. WandaVision is going to be the next show that we cover here. I think it's in February or late January when the Arrowverse shows are coming back. I don't think I'm going to be doing episode reactions to any of those. I'm probably just going to do maybe like post-episode wrap-ups, since I honestly just can't justify the time to devote to editing and recording all of those for full episode reactions. So yeah, especially since it's a little shaky on how those are going to go. Superman Lois comes out like what, February, March? I can't remember. So there's a lot of that stuff coming up, but I think WandaVision is definitely going to be, is 100% going to be the next show we do for episode reactions to. So we'll be following out that season. And then I believe supposedly Bad Batch is going to be coming out in March or spring. So we got that next lined up after that. So we got a lot of stuff coming this year. If I can do multiple shows at one time, I'll try to balance that out, but we'll see how it goes. Fortunately, I'm just one man and I'm the one doing the editing, so I gotta pick and choose what I think is going to be best for you guys, for the channel, and to make sure that I'm delivering at least decent content for you guys. I don't want to slap together like a sloppy edited video or whatever, and anything that I can't give relevant commentary on. But that's it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end this here. So thank you all for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time. Take care, everybody.